Hey everybody, Dave here from Dave Tries to Fix Stuff, channel dedicated to the repair, restoration, and resurrection of broken stuff. And in today's episode, I clean, repair, and do a sound demo on this Roland AF-60 Bee Gee Fuzz pedal. You want to see how I got everything done? Stick around and I'll show you. The pedal wasn't passing a signal, and I figured I'd give it a quick once-over on the outside to see if anything stood out as not working. That's when I discovered this tone knob was loose, but everything else obviously was on the inside, so I had to get it apart to figure out what was going on. So right away I could see what the problem was with that pot. The three leads that were supposed to be connected to it had at one point broken off completely, so the pot was actually out of circuit. So as you can obviously tell from the sound clips, the pedal was not working correctly. So I started to get the thing taken apart again to take a closer look at everything that was in there. One of the problems was the instrument input jack was actually cross-threaded. The nut on it was cross-threaded there, so I had to break out the Dremel tool and get that thing cut off. So after looking at the PCB, I could see that there was a possible cold solder joint on here. Also, if you look right about here, you can see that there's actually a separated solder pad. That's on one of the transistors. I think that was probably a big part of the problem. So I went about getting everything desoldered on these transistors. I wanted to test them, make sure they were still working. Once I verified that, I would get them reinstalled, and then just make sure that everything was soldered on there correctly. I also decided that I was going to go ahead and just shotgun all of the electrolytic capacitors on here, so that was part of this part of the project as well. Now here you can clearly see where the lifted solder pad is. It's completely off the board now, and one of the things that I'm going to have to do is to create a bridge, a wire bridge across those 2 points, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate right here. What I did essentially was created a little J-hook out of a lead. I just clipped this lead off of a resistor, or maybe a capacitor. I always save the little ends like that just for little repairs of this nature. And I hooked it around the existing lead that was coming through the board on the next component over. I gave a little bit of solder, made sure it was nice and secure. And then at that point, you can actually begin to bend it around the lead that's coming through that has the broken pad on it. You'll do this just utilizing a pair of pliers and being very careful in how you bend it. It should just kind of wrap around, like you can see how I'm doing there. Once I get it around to the point where it'll basically kind of envelop that lead that's protruding through the board, I can cut off the excess and then actually crimp it down onto the lead coming through the board, and then just add a little bit more solder to make everything nice and secure. It's a pretty easy thing to do, but at the same time does take a little bit of I won't say a deft hand, but definitely takes a little bit of practice to get right. So I pulled a schematic off the internet for the pedal. I'm not 100% sure of the accuracy of this thing, because the board that I have has 4 electrolytic capacitors on it, and this one is only showing, from what I can see, 3 of them. I've got a 10 microfarad here, 10 microfarad here, and a 1 microfarad here. My idea originally was to just shotgun all the caps, just to, you know, in the hopes that if it turns out that the problem is in the capacitors, I could just take care of them all at one time. But the thing is, I don't have any 10 microfarad electrolytics. I do have some 22 microfarad electrolytics that I can use. It's awfully dark. I've got 4 or 3 of these, and I also have a 1 microfarad to take the place of that guy right there. So the only thing is, I want to make sure that if I do end up replacing these things with 22 microfarad, that it's not going to affect the overall tone. I know with this one right here, it's coming off the 9 volts, so that's telling me that that is a like a filter cap, that's, you know, smoothing out the ripple. And I believe that's the same thing that's happening right here, because this is all coming off of the, you know, fairly close to the plus 9 volts on this thing. The only thing is, I don't know if the other 10 microfarad that's on there, that obviously got missed on this schematic, is some sort of bypass capacitor to shape tone. So but I'm going to go ahead and take the chance and replace all these things. Once I get them out, I'll test them to see what the ESR is on them, and we'll see what we end up with. But we'll do that right now. Seems to work. Showing up very easily on the camera, but it looks like this tone control is perhaps wired backwards, because when I turn it all the way down, it's got this kind of shrilly. It has turn it up, I'm pretty sure this is backwards. This is done backwards. So I'm gonna have to switch the leads on this, I think. But that's not a big deal. So if I switch the leads on that, that should fix that problem. It sounds better if and here's the thing too, is that there's no gain on this. It's just the tone knob and the level. So I guess it's kind of like the distortion is constant. Maybe I just need to I need to kind of dial in between that and the amplifier to see what sounds best. And I did just kind of turn the amplifier up and rolled back the level on this. Maybe that is the key. So let me try that a little more. That's got more of a fuzz sound to it. I'm still going to go upstairs and maybe check over a few more components on this thing and see if I got to rewire the tone control. So I'm going to check out the components that are wired to the tone control and make sure that those things are in spec too, because I think that tone control can maybe use just a little bit of tweaking. So. Okay, so we got this thing put back together. It's sounding pretty good now, so let's go ahead and try it out a little bit. So, it's going to be our bass. funny thing is I've heard people talk about how the tone control on these is really not very responsive. I found exactly the opposite. This thing gives a really wide sweep, so I'll kind of demonstrate that a little more right now too. That's pretty friggin' noisy. We need to dial this in. Pretty much does it. Pretty happy with how everything turned out. This thing is sounding pretty good now. Got it all cleaned up, as clean as it can be. There's obviously some, scratches in the paint and stuff that I'm not going to be able to get out, and I'm not about to repaint this thing. It looks too cool just the way it is. All those battle scars are pretty awesome. But I love the tone on this thing now. I love the fact that I've got a full sweep range on the tone knob there. So we're going to chalk this one up to a success. I want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. Click like if you like it. If you see something I did wrong, as always, let me know. Just be nice. Other than that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.